More friends in studio. I like it when it gets busy in studio. We invited all the we invited all the council members to come in. They can hash out their problems. I think we could fit them all in studio, right, Carl? Carl Reinstrom's in. He's brought some guests. We're going to get to Lisa. We're going to get to Steve. We're talking human technologies. Carl, good morning. First off, and how are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Great. And you know what? Just looking through, and I have to give Nate kudos. Your marketing and communications manager, always prepping us well. I love this idea. So kind of goes back to something I think we were mentioning earlier. I say this to Rocco, again, maybe more for myself. Sometimes we're talking about a story or a topic, and we just can't get it. It doesn't make sense. And I say we gotta stop. We gotta stop thinking like us and think like someone else may. Maybe like the criminals. Why the heck are they doing this? Why would someone do something like that? And in that perspective, I think, Carl, you're in this industry. You do this every day. It's second nature to you. It's kind of like a kid coming home. What'd you do from school? Nothing. You're right. You give them. I don't want to say the cookie cutter answer, but it's something second nature to you, and you might not think necessarily how to describe what you do to somebody when they ask you, maybe when they stop you. And so I thought this was a great approach, an idea of really getting into exactly what a disability is. And we've talked so much about human technologies, providing those opportunities in so many ways, so many different kind of industries for folks with disabilities. But this morning we're going to talk about that. What exactly a disability is, right? So I think that's a great way to start. So how do you approach this? How would you start off this conversation?
I think the start of the conversation is just recognizing that there are many different forms of disabilities out there.
Right.
Some that manifest themselves, some that you don't really know a particular day what may happen. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there of what a disability is and how it impacts people. And that's really what we're here for today, is to provide some sort of education. That's one thing that we want to do is make sure that people understand what a disability is, and ultimately what they can do to really
they have abilities, even though they have a disability.
That's one thing we specialize in, is finding the abilities within people. And there's a lot of barriers to employment for folks with differing abilities, and we like to provide those opportunities and allow them to succeed. Putting them in a position where they can succeed. Just really playing to their strengths, providing them that confidence. Whether it's emotional, physical, or just support from coworkers, and providing them that confidence that they can do a job, whether it's here at HD or if they want to go elsewhere, just providing them that opportunity that they may not be able to get elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions on what a disability is, and that's why I think we're here today, is really to educate folks. And provide really just what that definition is and what they can do to help break that stigma.
I have a question for you about mental disability, mental health issues. There are lots of people who have mental health issues, and sometimes it's somewhat controlled if they take medication. It's just like wearing glasses. Like, you can't see without your glasses on. You put them on, you can see. It's like them. They have a chemical imbalance. They need the medication. It's not a crutch. It's a need. Right. When you have people who have mental health issues come to work at Human Technologies and you place them somewhere, do you have someone to help monitor them or to make sure they're staying on their medications so that they can function? Because if they get off of them, sometimes they're not too controllable. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? Here.
Let Steve take this one. Steve Hart's our manager of human resources. We'll let him handle this one.
Thank you. Yeah, great question. So I actually worked in the mental health field for 13 years. I worked at our local psych center here in the area. I was around when they closed the adult inpatient services in the Utica area. Now, with the crisis that we have in this area, there is no inpatient adult services available between Albany and Syracuse. So our community especially is affected greatly by this. We do have quite a few individuals that come in on medication management. We all know sometimes medication eventually stops working, right? We have to do kind of a medication management adjustment. We do provide services and supports. We obviously can't advise, not medical professionals, can't make somebody take their meds and be on their medication regimen. But we do have an internal support specialist His name is Tom. Does a fantastic job. Works with every individual that comes in that has a documented disability. And our supervisors and managers are key and instrumental in noticing changes in behavior and things that are kind of out of the norm. And when that happens, they do reach out to our internal support specialists so we can get some more services and some more resources for that person that may be struggling with not managing that medication at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Rock. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because that's a specific aspect of disability. So why don't we start at the beginning here, at least if you want to maybe take this in terms of just the ADA definition. People have different ideas of what disabilities are, what that word means. There's misconceptions out there as well. So before we really drill down on that, what's the ADA definition of disability, and what does that really mean?
Yeah, I'm actually going to read it to you. It's easier. So under the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, thank you for shortening it for us, a disability is it's having a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, or having a history of such an impairment, or being regarded as having such an impairment. So you could break that definition down all day long, right? What it really boils down to is something Carl alluded to earlier. Comes in many forms. You have physical disabilities, right, which could cover things like chronic health conditions or diagnoses related to bodily systems, your musculoskeletal system, your cardiovascular system, those sorts of things. There are cognitive disabilities, so intellectual disabilities, and those sorts of things, neurological disabilities. You have mental, which Mark alluded to, right? Mental disabilities that are diagnoses like anxiety or depression, just to name a couple of examples. And then there are indivisible disabilities. There are
Invisible?
Invisible. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. There are things that there are diagnoses that you can't always see. They're not always apparent, right? Fibromyalgia.
Oh, yeah.
Chronic pain. You don't always see the symptoms of those in the workplace or anywhere in life. And so it takes on a lot of forms or a lot of different disabilities that fit into that definition.
So something like anxiety, I often hear a lot of people that can't work or whatever because of mainly they're physically capable. They could try to do whatever. They're perfectly fine, but they get overwhelmed with anxiety. So that by the ADA definition is a disability?
If documented and diagnosed, yes.
That it would prohibit you from being able to function in or what? Obviously, someone could have anxiety. How does that affect their ability to work in terms of the threshold?
Well, without accommodations, right? And for those who don't know what accommodations are, they're adaptations of jobs or work sites, adjustments, supports that Steve alluded to and Carl alluded to. Without accommodations for anything, not just anxiety, it could be a limiting factor at work, but we don't see it that way. We see it as an opportunity. What can we do to make it so that you can perform this job successfully? I think that's what makes
despite
us
that limitation.
Yes, absolutely.
So, maybe you can go a little further in highlighting that. Is going to be part of my question. So, a disability in terms of employment, maybe specifically with human technologies, and going back to I started with Carl. How are their abilities highlighted? And as you mentioned, the accommodations. So, how do you link those two? I guess their disability, their abilities, and then put them to that pathway to be successful. Yeah, either one of you.
Yeah.
Go, Steve. Yeah.
Great. We kind of work on creating a customized approach to employment. We center the work around the individual. We do a great job in our interview process at kind of finding out what and where that this individual's disability may manifest itself.
Not to cut you off or stop you, but I think that's an interesting approach. So, someone may go to a job and say, "I'm applying for this certain position. I think I'm good for it." Someone with a disability may come in and say, "Hey, I'm looking for employment." And Steve, you and the team say, "All right, here's where here's a good fit for you."
Absolutely. We ask during the interview process, do you work better in a team setting? Do you work better individually? Availability, what kind of hinders or kind of blockades that may their disability may manifest itself in different ways at different work locations, different hours, different days. We try to create that customized approach to employment.
Steve, if
That understanding and that support, though, that's great. Just
Sure.
yeah, I mean that's huge. I'm sure to the continuation.
Are there
of all that.
situations where someone may have limited cognitive abilities, but be willing to engage in some menial task that someone without those limitations would be unwilling to do?
We do have different, except we center the work around the individual. We have many different lines of business that we engage in that we recognize everybody's capacity. Somebody may only function at 80%, right? 60%. We understand what the abilities are for this individual, and we create the work around them. Typically, providing more support, more supervisory exposure.
What I'm getting at, not to interrupt, what I'm getting at is, are people who are limited mentally, cognitively, sometimes willing to do things that people without that limitation would be unwilling to do? I mean, remember I was on a bus, I've told this 100 times, but I heard the person run on a bus somewhere, and he said, I've got to be there by 8 o'clock because I got to get all that green glass off the conveyor belt, so it won't go. I got to get that green glass off. That was his focus on what he would do. Now, you could see, basically by the way he was behaving, that he had some cognitive disability, but he had a function and he could do it, and I think other people perhaps who were without that limitation might be unwilling to do that job, if that makes any sense to you.
I would say that a lot of our employees, they like to work. They really like to work, and employment for a lot of people is a very important part of their life. It provides them not only a financial aspect, but that that feeling of belonging, that social aspect of it as well. People with differing abilities, they're just like us. They want to work. They have to have a car. They go to work every day. They have families. They like to play video games. So I think, that, again, that misconception of disabilities and what those barriers are and what they're able to do or not do, that we really don't focus on that. We focus on what they can do. And if we have opportunities within the organization, when we're looking for an employee to fill those roles, we're looking for that particular skill set. So I wouldn't say it's anything that we're doing that you or I wouldn't do. Is if you look at the unemployment rate for folks with differing abilities, it's 2 to 3 times higher than the non.
I was going to say they're probably doing more, Carl.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they want to work.
Right.
They're very dedicated employees. They really enjoy being provided that opportunity that they may not be able to get somewhere else.
Are they reliable?
Oh, they're one of the most reliable people that you know. They value not only the economic portion of it, but the social component of that as well. It's just the emotional well-being of feeling included. And that's one thing that we have is the culture within the organization, that support that we provide them, that they can do anything, and providing that level of confidence in them so they can succeed. That's one thing that we specialize in, is really establishing and maintaining that culture.
I would have to assume that those employees do have that drive, that focus to overcome the initial barrier of their disability and still want to be employed and still be successful. I was kind of teasing Carl, but I mean, not having a disability, many folks I think struggle sometimes. I want to tell Rocco almost every morning, I don't want to come in today. But I think to your point, the folks that you employ, they have that drive, they have that dignity, they want to show up, they want to do that work. So that's great.
I guess the simplest way to look at it, they want to prove, and I think maybe this could, Lisa or whoever wants to speak to the misconceptions, there probably are used to a lot of people telling or underestimating, say, you can't do this, you won't be good in this, let somebody do it who has better abilities.
Or haven't had opportunities.
That type of knock on their ego must foster in them the willpower and the strength to want to prove that they're better than that and that they can do all of that. And that's part of the misconceptions that I think workplaces have to deal with or acknowledge, right?
Yeah, there are so many misconceptions that people can't thrive in the workplace, that there's no way this person could contribute in a positive way to what we're doing, or something that Steve reminds me of all the time. People assume that a person with some unique abilities has all the supports in place that they need. and we know we have to come in on that, and we want to help with that. And before we go into that, I wanted to build on something Carl said about, where we focus. I think between Steve and I, we've probably sat through 3 or 4 dozen trainings on ADA and accommodations and all those sorts of things, right? And so one thing that's becoming very clear to me, and all this training is very important, right? We have a lot to contend with. We have processes we have to be in line with. But we're so different because in most organizations, that is a have-to type of thing. You have to do this because you're required to do this.
Some compliance.
Compliance-based, very requirement-focused. Nothing wrong with that. There's law. We have to deal with that. We have to do that, right? For us, and I think I told you last time, I'm pretty new here, comparatively speaking. It has been such a wonderful mindset shift. We absolutely want to, because of what Carl said. You can't make assumptions that people can't do something. Our ability to provide accommodations and unlock that potential is unbelievable. It shatters the misconceptions. Right. I see it happen every minute of every day. It happens all the time.
Whoever wants to take this, when people have come into your program who previously were unable to be employed, they're employed, say, after 6 months, do you see a change in the person's behavior, demeanor, outlook on life, happiness scale, if you want to use that expression?
Absolutely. Just to touch on something I had last week to come up, that an individual got in, started working. They're being successful. They loved the position. They were only working a part-time because they felt that that's all they could do at that time. Came in, we had a meeting with the individual and their supervisors. I'd like to go full-time. I really, really, really love it. Really love the job, love the work, love the people. It's empowering.
So the confidence level
it skyrockets. It skyrockets. The positive support and the positive reinforcement that we show and the company shows, organization across the board, to individuals that want to come, want to show the effort, want to come into work, to give them that support and that that great boost. It really unlocks their potential and what they want to do within the organization, and to tell that individual, yeah, hey, we'll put you full time. We think you're doing a great job. Just the overall elation on this person's face, it was invaluable.
They see something really in themselves maybe that they didn't see before. And that's a great response. I was going to actually ask you that specific question, Steve. Do you have somebody that comes in, maybe they feel, all right, I want to try this. I feel like I'm limited. I'm a little shy, and then they get in there and they're comfortable and they're off running. They want to do more.
I just want to build on that a little bit. One thing that we're doing now is we're creating what's called a mission moment. We're actually interviewing not only the employee, their supervisor, their job coach, their family member, to see what impact employment has had on their life.
That's great.
To see when they came in to where they are now and how they've grown as individuals. So we're capturing that, and we're going to capture, I believe, 10 individuals currently. All the different business units, all the different locations that HT serves. To provide a 3 to 5 minute snippet. There's a lot of B-roll and stuff. We could probably produce even more. A keepsake for the employees so they can have that and view it anytime they want. But we want to show that within the organization, whether it's social media, whether it's the monitors throughout the building. It's going to be a part of our board of directors meetings where we're going to highlight an employee every quarter and just kind of play that. And this is why we're here. This is what we do. This is our DNA. This is our mission, and this is all why we're here. Every day we come in, and this is what we think about, and this is what we focus on, and these are the people that we are impacting.
I like it. Kind of goes back
for every single day.
Kind of goes back to what my statement. I think for the morning of just understanding it and listening to somebody else. Mark often says that. We talk about the impact that something may have, what some change may have on a group of individuals. But Mark said, "Well, did you ever talk to the group that's going to be impacted?" No. So you're talking to those individuals that are specifically impacted and how they feel, and then you can apply that to better your day to day. I love it. I think what you guys are doing there is great.
I always bring this up, but people may not have heard this before. You are not government funded. You're not relying on grants. You're self-supporting.
Self-sufficient organization. and that's carried by our people. That's because of the people that we serve and the people that we work for, and the great job that they do every day. This customized approach to employment that we create, the amount of time that we spend with every individual that comes in the door to find out, how.
But you do that without any government grants. You don't
Correct.
have government. You're not reliant on taxpayer dollars to keep this going.
Correct.
The services that you produce generate enough income to keep the organization going.
And they're doing it, I think, as Lisa highlighted, through the want, not just the need and to be in compliance with a lot of these things. These are the folks that are looking to employ and give opportunities in our community. With that being said, before we run out of time, there are opportunities, right? So either one of you, Carl, you want to grab that? Lisa, go ahead. If you want, any one of you want to make a final statement or throw something out there that we didn't cover, feel free. More than welcome.
We're never going to pass up an opportunity to talk
Go
about
ahead.
it.
No.
Yeah,
I know we
so-
go through a lot and we go fast sometimes. And
Yeah,
we may miss
so
something.
htcorp.net /employment. We have a wonderful array of opportunities available, part-time, full-time, custodial positions in Utica, in Rome area, in Waterville. I mentioned that last time. That's
Right.
a very unique posting for someone who might need a little bit of flexibility. We've got some openings in the production space. We have an indirect labor opening in accounts payable. So really wonderful opportunities. And like Steve said, just another opportunity for us to talk to candidates that we can support as well. So
Here's one question. I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Can you get a referral? Maybe, does it have to be the specific candidate, as you mentioned, or maybe a family member says, "Hey, I have a few questions about a family member I have. Would this be a fit for them?" Can you reach out? Is there a referral process or program almost in a sense of that?
Yeah, we have lots of community supports.
You guys are doing great.
Job
Sorry.
coaches, just a couple, the other organizations that we were, RCIL, ARC, we get job coaches,
Great.
supports, program managers, case managers that reach out to us and say, hey, I have an individual, maybe we can do, a couple weeks ago did a walkthrough with the job coach at RCIL to check out the manufacturing production floor to see, brought the individual in, hey, is this something that you might be interested in? It worked out well. We get a lot of community outreach from a range of resources.
That's great to hear. Yeah, that's perfect. But yeah, Carl, any other final words, or you want to jump in on that employment opportunities?
If there's something that we don't have that opportunity now, there are other organizations that may have opportunities that we can also provide guidance for them, or other supports that maybe we can't do. But we appreciate you guys taking us on today. Really providing us the opportunity to share, and really explain, what disability is, how it manifests, and what we do to help those individuals. And if we help anyone out there today, whether it's a person with a differing ability, or just another organization that might want to take a chance, how do they create an inclusive environment? How can they provide supports to employees? It would be great if they'd be employees of Human Technologies. But as long as we can provide those opportunities elsewhere, outside our organization, that's a win for us too.
Great. So you'd have those conversations. You'd be willing to talk to those businesses.
Yeah, we would absolutely, if we can't, provide what they need as far as customized approach to employment. And again, the term disability gets people a little uncomfortable at times.
Yeah.
And we want everybody to know it is not a disability. You have identified something that that impacts your life, that you deal with on a daily basis, that you've seen a doctor, counselor, therapist, social worker for, and you still make the conscious decision every day to try and get up and engage yourself in gainful employment that is empowering.
Yeah.
And is an ability, not a disability.
I love it. Yeah, well put, Steve. Very well put. Mark, you're good. All right. Did you? All right,
I
good.
want to say this. I think so. You don't have to be disabled to be part of Human Technologies, correct?
Correct.
So someone who may not have any documented disability
is also welcome to apply.
You still
Absolutely.
take people like that, so you don't have to feel that if you are not disabled, you can't work with you.
Correct.
Just want to
Correct.
point that
We welcome all to apply. We go through a pre-screening process to see what may work, for anybody, disabled, non-disabled, across the board.
Yep.
I love it. All right. Steve, great to meet you. Steve Hartz, Manager of Human Resources. And certainly, as Lisa mentioned, htcorp.net/employment. Lisa Green, Vice President of Human Technologies. Carl Reinstrom, as we started off, President and CEO of Human Technologies. Great to have you folks back in. And I know we're going to do it again, but welcome anytime. All right.
Thank you.
All right, sincerely appreciate it. Thank you.